You're listening to a Meldo Entertainment original podcast. Hi guys, on today's session we have amazing independent filmmaker Josie Hess, who recently co-directed my latest feature, All of Me, with the equally incredible Morgana Muses. In this session we chat about identity, pornography, artistry and a whole lot more. They are an incredible, hilarious human being, so enjoy. Hi guys, welcome back to the show. Now I'm stoked to have queer independent filmmaker and overall bloody good person Josie Hess with us today. They've just recently co-directed my latest feature, All of Me, with the beautiful Morgana Muses, who has a touching story of their own. Josie and Morgana kind of came to me at a time where I was contemplating whether I should stay in the industry. I was copying a lot of flack from people, saying that I don't deserve to be here, and so on and so forth. And Josie and Morgana kind of came to me and said, your story needs to be heard. So they kind of gave me a lifeline of hope, I like to call it. So the first question I kind of asked Josie was, what was it like to be working on that film and approaching me about it?
So I think definitely Morgana is the genesis. She's the creative powerhouse, obviously, behind Permission for Pleasure, and I think we're both equally in awe of her majesty and everything she stands for. So I felt the exact same way, where I was like, who is this woman? And I think she was the one that mentioned to me that I think she knew you before, right? I think she was the one who mentioned that you might be interested in sharing your story. Mog and I had just come off the back of doing, because up until a certain point, we'd really just been telling Morgana's story. Morgana, we were kind of primarily telling stories about like her sexual exploration, but then we did a film in Berlin called Rituals and Worship, which was about one of Morgana's good friends, Karitia, who's this sort of like incredible shamanistic sort of ritualized BDSM practitioner. They do really incredible work over there, and we documented that. And so we made this, I don't know, we accidentally made a documentary. Like we had never done that before. And so I think when Morgana learned about your story and sort of your activism, and in particular, I think it's your poem as well, like the really like strong visual element of your poem, I think we were both just like, oh, hell yeah, that's like, if we're lucky enough to, have you tell your story to us, then that would be really good. And I think that's when we started the conversation with you about like, how we would go about it and what you might, be comfortable with and all that stuff. So yeah, I think that's the genesis of how that all came to be.
Yeah, and I think it came at a time where I was contemplating leaving the industry, and the industry was my life, and I didn't know what I was going to do. And then you guys came along and said, how about we do this? And I was like, is this a sign telling me I shouldn't go anywhere? And so I thought, you know what, I'm going to throw myself into this and do as much as I can and see what happens. And yeah, I'm so glad I did, because I think Morgana's felt the same, where she's gone through stages of, can I do this? Can I continue? But we always come back to, yes, we can. And we always fight for, our craft.
Yeah. I mean, you are already a consummate performer, I think, when we met you, for sure, right? Like you had an amazing and colored history of like amazing projects. But I think you're right, like and stop me if it's not something you want to talk about, but like I do remember like the original kind of cut we were working on was to do with your sort of like grappling with maybe exiting the industry. And I think because the edit was over, basically what happens is I got a full-time job. So up until a certain point, I had been like a freelancer, just working for Morgana and doing other projects and all creative projects, earning like no money. But then I got a fucking full-time like, it's a great job, but it is like, it's a lot of work. And therefore all my time got eaten. And then I also went back to school and started my master's again. And I'm just like, I must be crazy to do that.
You're an artist. Artists are crazy.
Yeah. So I think I think in 2017 was the last year that I had like a proper amount of time to like, invest in, stuff that's for me and Mog. And then I think that's kind of, we filmed maybe that year or the year before. And then I just got horribly busy. And in a way, it kind of worked out for the best, because by the time we were revisiting and actually able to get the edit to a point where it was ready, that's when we did those pickups. And you were in a very different place by that stage from your own journey. Like you'd kind of, I think by then you were like back on the sex work train.
I think I worked out that I only left like 2 months, not even that, because we had we had a massive retirement party and everything, and I remember at the end of it, it was a bit of a train wreck because I just looked at both you and Moggs and just lost the plot, and so I don't know how to breathe on my own. I can't be my actual person without being Melina, so I was just like, I can't. So it was the best thing that could have ever happened, actually, even though it was tragic. I think, you know.
I thought that was a kick-ass party because you also had your friend who came and played amazing music. Do you remember that? That was like rad. I had a good time.
Good. Yeah. Not enough alcohol.
I guess, I mean, is there ever enough alcohol? Exactly. I was thinking like you mentioned that thing about like identity and, you know, the difficulty in letting, or just like, who are you without that? And that I assume that's something that you still grapple with, but like, it's absolutely. How much is it a part of who you are? And will it always be a part of who you are? It's like hard to extrapolate it, I guess.
I don't know. I think because I'm a workaholic that I'm driven by my career. So I don't know how to do anything else really. So
I feel that so hard. Like when people are like, what are your hobbies? I'm like, working on other projects. Like my partner always jokes to me, like if I have any time off, I just like immediately start new projects. Like that's how I enjoy myself. So I definitely feel that, and I feel like a sense of kind of confusion and loss if I'm not doing something.
You feel kind of guilty.
It's probably bad. Yes. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Definitely.
And, and so and you feel like, oh, there's so much creativity I could be giving out right now, but I just want to sit on the couch and watch Netflix. What the fuck? But no, I've got to, you know, there's so much happening in my brain. So I feel that because I used to work in music, so I feel exactly the same way. And if I wasn't promoting stuff, you know, I was sitting on the couch and thinking I should be promoting stuff. And
maybe I'll start something, start a new project. I have a real problem now where like I have to force myself to stop and just watch like television or whatever, or like just watch Netflix. Like I find it really hard to focus because I'm just like, I like to listen to, I like to do two things at once. I find it quite hard to focus. So even when I'm working, like I prefer to have a podcast going or, you know, a lecture or something so that I could be doing, I feel like I'm doing more and therefore I'm able to do more. It's very strange. It's probably massively unhealthy. We should probably get some help about that.
It does feel more productive, doesn't it, really? Like, I can multitask. Yes, look at me, guys.
I've seen some very I feel personally attacked Instagram posts about the cult of productivity, and I'm like, I see, this is me. But I don't know if it's coming from like a capitalistic sense or just like this mad innate desire to create weird shit. I hope it's that instead of just evil capitalism, but it's probably capitalism, let's be honest.
There's one reason why I avoid those posts, because I feel the same. So I'm just like, no, I'm not going to
don't even look at it.
I'm going to feel good about myself. So within your career of filmmaking, are there any statements that you have made or you want to make that you haven't made already? Is there any particular ones that made you start in this career that you wanted to go, hey, this is an issue and I want to say something about it, and so I'm going to do that through film?
Yeah, it's a good question. I guess like there's no singular statement, but more of just like this is going to sound wanky as fuck, but just like a moral basis behind it, where I'd like to do good with film, like highlight stories that I believe should be told. Like if there's any power in filmmaking, it's that it's a fairly consumable art form, and therefore it can go a little further than, say, I don't know, a really dense text or something. So I guess like I just know that like I've got, you know, a standpoint and things that I believe in. You know, I'm unashamedly sex positive. Like I'm a queer person. Like I'm not going to be shying away from telling what I see to be the truth in the world, and letting others who have equally interesting perspectives have their say. Like I remember early on, like I'm I think I mentioned I'm doing my master's in journalism, and I did a story about biohacking. And I've had this criticism before where my perspective isn't like skeptical or critical enough. And
Yeah.
it's more just that I don't really like, and I guess that's a difference between like hard journalism and perhaps documentary, and how those sort of art forms are diverging or have always kind of been diverging or always separate. But like that I'm not, I don't critique my subjects necessarily, but it's often because I choose subjects that I guess I think have a perspective that should be shared. So yeah, no, I think I'm just really interested in telling great stories that deserve to be told. I think that's kind of where I'm heading. And I fell into the porn and sex positive stuff because I love porn. I'm massively interested in porn. I always thought that I could just become like a full-on like Boogie Nights pornographer when I finished film school, but then I realized very quickly that that is probably not, you know, I'm not a businessman, so that's not going to happen.
I think you struggled in you somewhere.
I know. I'll be a fat cat with a cigar and just like heaps of porn. Yeah. So no, not as singular a vision. Not really, no.
Yeah. So is there a favorite film that you've done so far? I think I know which one it is, but I'll just let you.
You know,
not mine, but somebody else's.
it's tempting to just say like it's a feature, but I guess it's that thing when you make art, and probably the same for you, where it's like you tend to be the most into the thing that you've done the most recent, which in many ways would be All of Me, which is the film we've done together about your story. So I think that's probably the loudest for me right now in terms of like occupying more of my space, because I'm pushing that one out. But I have a soft spot in my heart for all my films, from my very early horrible black and white films I made with my little sister right through to like projects I'm just in development with now. So yeah, no, it's like trying to choose between a favorite cat. I don't think I can.
So what was the first one you ever did? Do you remember?
Oh, I mean, I made these awful films with my little sister. She'll kill me for talking about them, but we made like, it's called Ricky Woffberg, and basically it's a satire about Channel 31 host who's like a gay alien. It's bizarre. It's like 45 minutes long. I don't think we're ever going to release it, but I made like a full DVD cover for it. Like I went all out. It's kind of roughly based on like that show Serenity of all things. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's super weird. It's very embarrassing. I think we must also point out that Fishcam was probably the greatest placeholder for television of all time. Do you remember Fishcam?
Yeah, I'd forgotten about that actually. So you mentioned it. That was so, I always like as a kid wondered why that was even a thing, but
I heard that, and this could be like a meme or not true, but I did hear that they released like the best of Fishcam, and there was like amazing bits where like one of the fish died and like other things like that. But that might someone fact check that.
It sounds like a thing, but that would be awful. Has the pandemic sort of changed the way you've approached filmmaking, or made you think differently about how you want to approach future projects?
Yeah, definitely it has. Like I've gone into sort of pre-production on a bunch of projects that I probably wouldn't have had time to do beforehand. And like I've just been working, like I haven't left my house in 9 months basically. So I've been working remotely on everything. So that's been different. I haven't done any shoots, sort of like COVID safe shoots or anything just yet. So we're kind of just looking at how to go back into stuff now that Melbourne seems to be finally aligning, which obviously, aside from death and destruction and like, terrifying reality of the pandemic, was that it afforded me just a bit more time to do pre-production on new stuff. So that's been the main change.
Continues to inspire you in your career?
I just think interesting stories, man. Like I'm not full obsessive about stuff, but I do get obsessed with like ideas, and like I'm very like textural and like emotional. So for lack of better description, so I get like hooked on like vibes or themes or whatever, and then I just like, I don't know, I have to be in those worlds, or I kind of feel weird. That probably makes no sense, but yeah, I think it's honestly just like super interesting stories, weird parts of the internet, and like I don't know, the workaholicism again. So I just like immerse myself fully, and it's like makes me think of in BDSM, people who are like pain sluts. I think I'm like a texture slut, and I just like being surrounded by things of a certain texture or feeling.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I think
Thank
that's
you.
one reason why I started this podcast as well, was people were saying to me, you should write a book, and I'm like, no. But then I thought, well, there's so many people with amazing stories, and I thought, well, I just worked with you, and I thought, well, I could start a podcast where everyone who I bring on inspires me in some kind of way because they've got an interesting story that, I learned from them. So yeah, same type of thing. And then it adds to my workload. But
Well, exactly. I'm right back at you. I'm so excited for you to have a podcast. I'm very honored to be part of it.
Well, you're welcome to come back anytime, because I'm more than likely going to do series 2, and I'm going to need people. So you guys are going to be my rent a crowd. Anyone out there from rent a crowd can just give me a call. Are there any particular projects that are coming up for you? Are you still working on your main ones, or you don't?
Yeah, I got a couple on my slate, and I don't have an agent. I'm a solo independent artist, so nobody can tell me not to talk about them.
So good.
So I'm gonna plug the shit out of them. So I've actually got 2 sort of main ones I'm working on, and always like in the background is like whatever's going on with Mog and her plans.
Yeah.
But I am working on a featured doco with one of my excellent friends, Stephanie Sabrinskis. It's called The Valley. Working title may change, and that's sort of about life after coal. So I grew up in a place called Gippsland, sort of like got the world's largest fucking coal hole that sits right on the edge of my hometown. Honestly, like I think it's like 400 meters from the edge of the freeway that separates my town, and it's like constantly teetering on the edge of fucking falling in, even though they say it's not going to fall in. It just there's subsidence. They call it subsidence. Anyway, we won't get into the conspiracies, but we're working on that project at the moment. It's probably going to take us 10 to 15 years, like any good documentary, but that's in the works. So we've just kind of started pre-production on that. And I'm also working on a feature horror with my good friend David Ward, who I made a very in the film school, we made a film called Womb, which is this cool 60mm body horror film. And now we're reconnecting, and we're sort of working on this feature horror film, which is sort of like, I like to think it's kind of like Poppy meets Videodrome. So like it's YouTube era Videodrome, Cronenberg-y realness. And yeah, I'm really excited to be working on that as well.
That sounds really cool. That's awesome.
Yeah, should be good. Lots of like USB cables and like female sexuality. So that should be fun.
I'm feeling like a very 90s vibe coming from that.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool. So you have to put some 90s fashion in there with horror as well.
Yes. Yeah. I think I'm technically, I was born in 89, but I guess that kind of makes me primarily like raised in the 90s. So it's probably going to happen that I'm like vibing on that 90s shit.
Oh, okay.
I say as I wear a Jay and Silent Bob shirt.
Yeah, and I saw that and I'm like, that is awesome.
Fuck. So typical.
Yeah. No, it's good. So in the spirit of the Margarita sessions, because somebody came up with this name, because I couldn't think of a name of the podcast, and she said, well, if people drink alcohol, it's more like a truth serum, so you get more of a candid conversation as they're drinking right now, which is beer of what type? Because our listeners cannot see you.
Yeah, I'm drinking an Asahi, but only because I couldn't get Tsingtao.
Nice. And I'm drinking a vodka.
Delicious. Oh, cheers then.
Cheers.
Kanpai.
So is that your favorite drink? That was my next question. What is your favorite drink?
Honestly, no. And I'm sorry to the good people of Asahi, but I really prefer a Tsingtao. But my local, because I live out in the country, my local bottle shop doesn't stock it most of the time. So I have to settle for fine, but less good Asahi.
So they don't even order it in for you?
I don't think, that's a good question. Like, no, I don't believe so. I haven't tried, I guess, hard enough, maybe.
Seriously, don't they Google? Don't they know who you are? Honestly.
I know, I'm kind of a big deal. So where's my Tsingtao? Where's my slab of Tsingtao?
Not reading them.
No, it's perfectly reasonable drink, and it's fine. And I don't know, like I drink beer. I honestly, like, I'm a scumbag, so I honestly drink anything. So I don't know if I'm fancy enough to have like a favorite drink.
Yeah,
as long as it's, will I be drunk? How drunk?
How drunk? Yeah, depending on the occasion, how drunk do you need to be? to be cognitive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. There's a lot of like very reasonable assumptions I make where it's like, do I need to speak later? Then maybe I'll have a beer, doesn't matter if I vomit or black out. Well, maybe I'll have a vodka. Like it's, I'm a very reasonable person.
Yeah. And I know one of our colleagues in the adult industry, she was always like that. Whenever she did a event, she'll go, how much do I need to drink? If it's free, I will drink it. Even if I need to do a speech, I'm sure it'll be clear because people know who I am. And quite often, because it was free, she would continue to keep drinking it and then say to me, well, they just kept giving them to me. And then she tried to do a speech, and because she was cute, she got away with it, but it would often be dribble. But everyone was like, oh, that's okay. That's okay.
She's so cute.
So we can't mention her name because otherwise we'll get in trouble, but I'm pretty sure not me, but it's definitely someone that we know. And it was not Morgs, by the way. Definitely not Morgs. So on that note, it's been lovely. Unless you want to add anything else, you can have the floor right now. It's all yours.
No, but I just want to reiterate how excited I am to be part of your podcast, and thank you very much for having me. And I guess cheers again.
Cheers.
Margarita Sessions.
Check out Josie's website at josieiscool.com, and you can also follow them on Instagram, Yosiesaurus. The links will be available within the episode description. Remember, you can also follow me on social media, Instagram and Twitter at Melina Viking, and check out my website, my.bio/Melina Viking, and you can buy my videos, watch me live, and so much more. Thanks for joining us today, guys, and I look forward to bringing you the next Margarita Sessions.